Good afternoon, welcome to Cstv News 24 on Cstv. For more news updates, you can follow us on our social media handles at CSTV.GH. My name is Dr. Spencer. Now in the headlines, Energy Minister set up 7-member technical committee to boost private sector role. Also on the Education Minister urges united efforts to dismantle barriers against marginalized groups. On the international front also, justice will not be served if terrorists are released, says former Israeli ambassador. There's many more stories will be coming your way as well as weather reports. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now the news in details. President John Dramani Mahama has vowed to end the voter-raging cycle of neglect under his administration. Addressing a debate of chiefs and people, the president expressed his deep commitment to ensuring that the region receives its share of national development.
I also recognize the anticipation of appointments from this region, and as was said, so far so good. Let me assure you that your contributions and talents have not been overlooked. Appointments will be guided by principles of merit, competence, regional balance, gender equity, and availability to serve. I do not doubt that the people of Volta region possess the human resource and will play pivotal roles in shaping the future of our nation. The Volta region has long been a victim of unfulfilled promises, but as I said, I assure you that this era of neglect will end under this administration.
He also stated that education and sports infrastructure will also receive attention.
Education and sports infrastructure would also receive attention. The Regional Youth Resource Center, which has been left to deteriorate, will be developed in order that our young people can develop their talents.
President Mahama then outlined plans to extend the Cstv defense project and also ensures victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage that they will be compensated duly.
During my campaign, 3 pressing concerns were brought to my attention: the sea defense project along the coast of the Volta region, the Keta Port project, and compensation for those affected by the spillage from the Akosombo and Pond dams.
Moving on to other stories, Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, has set up a 7-member technical committee to boost private sector role. Speaking during a press briefing, he stated that the initiative aligns with the promise made by the government to foster efficiency in the nation's power distribution sector. According to him, he is confident in the competence, commitment, and integrity of the committee, which is chaired by Emisa Atta, and also urged them to fulfill their terms of reference. The Education Minister, Honorable Aruna Idrisu, has urged united efforts to dismantle barriers against marginalized groups.
The transition between the parent and the school in providing for the upbringing of children is a weakened structure, and therefore teachers will have to play a more critical role during that period. We also must ensure that they are all in fact in school. So that's why free compulsory universal basic education must include free compulsory secondary education. If you make it free and it's not compulsory, then people can walk the streets. So we'll deal with it as an emerging social problem. Thank you.
Moving on to other stories, managing editor of the Insight newspaper, Kwesi Pratt Jr., has cautioned the president not to listen to praise singers. He urged the president to rather pay attention to constructive criticism.
Almost so slow on power, we are saying, so much, be almost yo. And yeah, or them, so do why I didn't do. Sanko for whom, or moon never bother by. Massa, may catch though, Sanko for praise singers. With your praise singers are not by the glory. One more, as we do on Nipa, one more. Oye bibi on bedrin hu ye panu aka say oh keye mom nan so hachia kakra oh man pani adwin papa na nka pese odi ade na mom nu hia pa pempeso edu na mom nu hia na masa da no na me kwadu.
More stories will be coming your way after the commercial break. Stay tuned. You're still live on Cstv News 24 on Cstv. Welcome back from the break. Now let's do some business stories. President Mahama has announced the formation of a 7-member National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee with Dr. Ishmael Yamson as its chairman. The National Economic Dialogue is expected to provide a platform for dialogue and consultation on policy trade-offs while developing a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the national budget. The committee has been given 4 weeks to submit its report, detailing the agenda, coordination of speakers and panelists, logistical arrangements, session facilitation, documentation of proceedings, and a communication plan to promote the dialogue. So in business story, the executive director of the Institute for Energy Security, Nana Amwesi VII, says the petroleum sector is crucial to Ghana's economy. Speaking to the press, he called on the government to consider partial privatization of sector to address its financial challenges.
Urge your government, Mr. President, to 1. Revise and harmonize regulation governing the petroleum sector to ensure consistency and support integration. 2. Invest in critical infrastructure and explore partial privatization options to address financial challenges. 3. Prioritize domestic crude supply for local refineries as mandated by the Petroleum Agreement. And 4. Align the sector with global energy transition goals to ensure long-term sustainability.
Rwanda-backed rebels march into the center of East Congo, largest city, witnesses said in the latest escalation of decades of conflict in a region already suffering one of the international front, Rwanda-backed rebels march into the center of East Congo, largest city, witnesses said in the latest escalation of decades of conflict in the region, already suffering one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. The rebel alliance convicted terrorists through negotiations. Moving on to entertainment news, Mr. Socrates Safo has rejected a meritorious award by the Ghana Movie Awards for his contribution and achievement in the film industry, citing a lack of credibility in the scheme. As such, accepting the award will be an indictment to his reputation in the film industry. Mr. Safo did not attend the award ceremony but fumed when he found out his name was mentioned as an honoree. He said demands excellence and expects recognition of his works to come from a credible and trustworthy organizations. Weather reporters at next, stay tuned. Weather update for today: dry and hazy weather will persist across the northern and transition sectors throughout the forecast period. The southern half will be predominantly sunny amidst occasional cloudiness over the coastline. The cloud development is anticipated to produce rain showers along the west coast and few inland areas from late afternoon into the evening. Visibility across the country will range from 4,000 meters to 9,000 meters. On this note, this is where we end today's news bulletin, but before we go, a recap of the top stories. Energy Minister set up 7-member technical committee to boost private sector role. Also in education story, Education Minister urged united efforts to dismantle barriers against marginalized groups. On the international front, justice will not be served if terrorists are released, says former Israel ambassador. And this is where we draw our curtains for today's news bulletin on CSTV. You can follow us on all social media handles at CSTVGH for more news updates. My name is Dorcas Mensah, here by Kiki Starch. Good afternoon once again.